Good morning. Today we are continuing on with those fractions, decimals, and percentages. We are putting together what we learned in the last two objectives to work on this one. All right, so we've learned how to convert between all three of them. In this objective, we're going to be ordering the values from least to greatest with those fractions, decimals, and percentages. It's more practice with that converting that we have done in the previous objectives, right? So we need to know how to make them all the same so we can compare them. When we look at percentages, decimals, fractions all mixed up, it's hard to know what's the least and what's the greatest, right? Because they're all mixed up. So we're going to convert them to all be the same kind. Turn them all into percents, or all into decimals, or all into fractions. You decide what you want to convert them into, but make sure you convert all the values into the same thing. That way we can compare them. So when we write our answer, we're going to write it using the original value, not what you converted it into. So you're going to look back at what the original is. So let's look at this first one. I see percentages and I see decimals. I can't compare different things. They need to be the same type. So what should I convert into? Matt? All right, so I already have a 28%. What would 0.3 become? Kaylee? 30%. 30%, so I'm going to write a 30% above it. Then I have 0.71. What percent is that, Michael?
71%.
And then I have a 40%. Now I can put them in order from least to greatest. So what is my smallest percentage there? Jackson?
28%.
28%. What's going to come next? Evelyn?
20%.
But am I going to write 30%? Yeah, I'm going to put it as that decimal because I need that original value. So she's right, 30% comes next, but I need to write the original value. What am I going to write next? Audrey?
40%.
And then what's going to be last? Gigi? 0.71. So make sure you're using those original values. But in order to put them in order, we have to convert to the same value, right? Or the same measurement, percentage, decimal, or fraction. So let's look at our next one. We have 3/20ths, 18%, 0.11, 1/5, and 0.09. What should I convert to? Rhoda?
Percentages.
Okay, so 3/20ths. How do I convert that to a percentage? Jackson?
Times them both by 5.
Yeah, remember our magic number, I need to get that 100 on the bottom. To go from 20 to 100, it's that friendly denominator. I multiply by 5. So whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So I'm multiplying the top by 5. What is 3 times 5, Matt?
15.
15. So what percentage does that turn into? Fernando? 15%. Then I have 18%. That's already a percentage. 0.11. What percent is that? Matt? 11%. And I have 1/5. What do I do? Matt?
Times it by 20.
I'm going to times it by 20, so I get that 100 on the bottom. 5 times 20 is 100. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 1 times 20 is 20. So what percent is that? Audrey?
20%.
20%. And then I have 0.09. What percent is that, Michael?
9%.
9%. So now I have my percentages. What is my smallest percent? Fernanda?
9%.
9%. Am I going to write 9%? No, because I have to write the original value. So I'm going to write 0.09. What is my next value that I'm going to write? Matt? 0.11, because next is that 11%. Then what? Audrey?
320.
3/20ths, because 15% would be next. So I'm gonna write 3/20ths. What do I write next? Gigi? Careful. If I write that 20% for 1/5, I would only have 4 values listed, but there are 5 up here. So sometimes what I like to do, as I use a value, I'm gonna cross it off. So I make sure I don't miss any. So I still have 18% and I still have 1/5. Which one's smaller, Gigi? 18%. Then last, the only one left is that 1/5. On tests, I've had friends accidentally miss one of their values because they were just putting them in order and it gets confused and messy, right? So it's always good practice to cross off as you use them to make sure you've used every value and you've got them all listed. Because I've seen kids have it written correctly up above, but their answer, it's missing one, so I can't give credit for it. So that's part of, you have to slow yourself down and make sure that you're completely answering that question. Is there any questions on what we need to do with this top part? Let's look at what's at the bottom. On the bottom, it says, write a decimal between 28% and 3/10. If I need to write a decimal, what do you think I need to do to those two values? What should I do to the two values? I have a percentage and I have a fraction, but the directions say to write a decimal that's in between them. What's your thought? What should I do? This one.
Make them both into like a percentage, so.
Careful. Write a decimal between them. So what should I turn them into?
Make them both.
Make them both decimals so I can see what decimal would fall in between. So 28% would be what decimal? Jackson?
0.28.
0.28. 3/10 would be what decimal? What do I have to do for that? Matt? So let's walk through all the steps that you got to that.
So 10 times 10 equals 100, and then 3 times 10 equals 30, and then you do 30.
Okay, so you have to make that fraction to have that 100 magic number on the bottom. Whatever you multiply the bottom by, we multiplied by 10. 10 times 10 is 100. We have to multiply the top by that same 10. So 3 times 10 is 30. Then we can turn it into our decimal, 0.30. What would be a decimal that's between 28% and 3/10? What decimal would fall in the middle? Evelyn?
0.29.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one, it says write a fraction. So what do you think you need to do with your two values? Fernanda?
Turn them both into fractions.
Convert them both to fractions. So you can find a fraction that would be in the middle. Then on the bottom, it says time for review. They are giving you one form of each value. You need to fill in the missing ones. So here it's 0.28. Convert that to a percentage, convert it to a fraction. What do we have to remember about those fractions? Everybody, what do we do with fractions?
Simplify.
Okay, so make sure when you are writing a fraction, you have it in the simplest form. Okay, so converting between fractions, decimals, and percentages, that's what we did in our first two objectives of this unit. Okay, so you're taking the value that's given and you're just converting it to the other two forms. Let's do the first one together. What would be the fraction for 0.28? What's my first fraction I'm going to write down? Rhoda?
28 over 100.
28 over 100. I said this was the first fraction because I can simplify it. what can I divide out of 28 that I can also divide out of 100, Matt? I can divide it by 2. 28 divided by 2 is 14. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Am I done? No, I can divide it by another 2. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 50 divided by 2 is 25. That's as low as I can go. That's my final answer. How do I convert 0.28 to a percentage? Jack?
Just, it's over,
Tell me what the percent would be.
okay, 28%.
Yeah, because it goes to that 100th place. I can just take that number and put it as a percent. Okay? Any questions on how to fill in these two tables? All right, so this is quiet work time. If you finish, you're working on packet number 5. Okay? Remember, we are switching a little bit earlier. We have about 20 minutes of work time, so it's plenty of time to get this done. Go slow, do your work, okay? If you have a couple for homework, you have a couple for homework, okay? But work calm and slow. It's a 1-pager today. If you finish, work on packet number 5. If you are watching at home, I hope you are well. I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to like and subscribe.